Hey there YouTube, Wrestling Optimus here, back with another action figure review. It's the start of another wrestling week, which means it's time for Monday Night Raw on USA. Just like SmackDown, it's the season premiere and the first post-draft show. It's also the go-home show for Hell in a Cell, so maybe this episode will actually be good for a change. As always, if you're new here, make sure to like the video and subscribe to the channel for more pro wrestling and action figure content. But for now, we're headed into the Thunderdome! So for a recap and review, let's take it over to the action figures. Raw opens with a new theme song and video package. Tom Phillips runs down some of the new superstars that they picked up in the draft. He's interrupted by The Fiend's music and red lights. Alexa Bliss stands in the ring alone wearing a little black dress and says, "Monday Night Raw, he's here. Let him in." And out he comes. Very slowly. She places her hand in his as they stare into the camera. Suddenly, the word "Retribution" displays on the crowd screens. They jump out from behind commentary and surround The Fiend and Alexa, who seem unfazed. Ali raises his hand with an evil smirk as the lights go out. We hear someone say, "Get him! Wait, where'd he go?" When the lights come back on, The Fiend and Alexa have vanished. Retribution looks around confused for a second, but instead of The Fiend, out walks the Hurt Business. This leads to an 8-man tag team match. Bobby Lashley dominates T-Bar. Slapjack doesn't fare much better against Cedric Alexander. In fact, he gets knocked out legitimately for roughly 30 seconds. Only Ali looks somewhat decent in what many online are calling a complete burial. There's a quick 4-on-4 stare down before T-Bar taps out to the Hurt Lock. Retribution stands there defeated when the lights turn red again. The Fiend appears and takes them all out by himself, furthering the burial. T-Bar saves Ali only to eat a mandible claw and a Sister Abigail for his troubles. The Hurt Business simply watches on from the ramp. The rumors are true, as AJ Styles comes out with his new bodyguard played by Jordan Omegbehin. He's the 7-foot-plus trainee from the Performance Center who played Tozawa's Giant Ninja and the Bouncer for Raw Underground. AJ gets biblical, saying that he's glad the Monday Night Messiah is gone and claiming to be Raw's prodigal son. For some reason, that line brings out his opponent, Matt Riddle. Before the match, the referee meekly asks Jordan to leave, but he just stands there. He asks AJ to make him leave, but Styles refuses. So the ref says he'll DQ AJ and starts to count, only for the Giant to grab him by the wrist. Finally, the ref pleads with Jordan that he's just trying to do his job, so he relents and exits the ring. I get that WWE want to make him look intimidating, but he shouldn't be putting his hands on officials. That goes for AEW too. It just ruins the suspension of disbelief because that should get you fired, not fined. It's a good match, but as you would expect, Jordan gets involved, intimidating Riddle whenever he gets momentum. At one point, simply making a fist is enough to distract Riddle. AJ hits the Styles Clash and picks up the victory. The backstage interview ring makes its return, but Drew McIntyre politely asks Charlie Caruso to leave so he can speak directly into the camera at Randy. He says from the moment he met Randy, it was obvious that he was the most evil, sadistic, entitled, selfish individual in WWE. He's very intelligent though. McIntyre should have just moved on after the ambulance match, but Orton attacked those legends, knowing that Drew had a temper and would then accept his challenge to Hell in a Cell. It's an environment Randy knows well, and Drew doesn't know at all. That should give him the advantage. However, McIntyre's entire life was hell, and those experiences count too. He claims to be leaving, but warns not to be surprised if he shows up for Randy's segment later. As a result of the Battle Royale last week, Lana is set to take on Asuka for the Raw Women's Championship. Predictably, the Empress dominates early, toying with Lana, but despite a brief flurry of offense, she inevitably taps out to the Asuka lock. No sooner does the bell ring than Nia Jax's music hits. She sneaks up from behind and takes out the champ. Then, she drags Lana over to the announcer's desk and for a 5th time puts her through it with a Samoan drop. Meanwhile, Shayna Baszler tries to slam Asuka, but she fights back and escapes with her title, relatively unscathed. The tag team champions cut a promo saying that they don't need to be friendly with each other to be a great team. Week after week, they dominate, and as the tag champs, they get to do it across all three brands. They dare anyone who disagrees to come do something about it. Mandy Rose and Dana Brooke answer the call. They're quickly followed by the oddball pairing of Lacey Evans and Peyton Royce, who clearly are not on the same page. Finally, the Riot Squad, who are just drafted to SmackDown, join the fun to make it an impromptu, cross-brand, fatal four-way. The match ends with a rapid-fire spot fest. Mandy Rose does her pump knee strike, Dana Brooke follows that up with a senton bomb, Peyton hits a spinning back heel kick, Lacey hits the women's right, Liv chops down Nia with some double knees, Ruby hits the Riot kick, but ends up in the Kirifuda clutch. Then Nia hits another Samoan drop for the win. Elias has been out since he was involved in that terrible Jeff Hardy drunk driving angle. He's finally back to perform a concert of tracks off his new album, The Universal Truth, dropping next week. And apparently, it's an actual album. First up is Amen, dedicated to Jeff Hardy. It's actually pretty good. Definitely has that hold up your lighter vibe. Second is Lead Me Home, which is also good and includes some cool pyro. Elias bids farewell but is seemingly convinced to do an encore. When he asks for his guitar back, a hooded figure plays a sick solo instead. He turns around and it's Jeff Hardy. Strangely, he throws Elias off the stage while yelling, "I didn't hit you with that car, man." Backstage, Miz is still convinced that moving Mandy Rose to Raw was good for her and that she's being ungrateful about it. He saved her, and now he's going to save the Money in the Bank contract with his lawsuit against Otis. Tucker walks over and accuses Miz of trying to ruin everyone's lives. He challenges Miz and Morrison to a tag team match, claiming that he'll just find another partner. They think the idea of Tucker finding a new partner is literally laughable, but they accept. Elias is stopped by Charlie Caruso. He thought in his downtime that people might have developed some respect for him and some reverence for his music. Since Jeff Hardy hasn't, he's challenging the charismatic Enigma to a match at Hell in a Cell. The New Day say a lot has changed in the 4 years since they last held the Raw Tag Team Championships. They reminisce briefly. Sheamus comes out and tells them to stop crying over their breakup because it's embarrassing. They claim they never broke up. They're just holding it down across 2 brands now, and Sheamus is probably just mad that Big E kicked his ass. But if he wants more, Kofi will be glad to help him out. Sure enough, that's our next match. It's good but fairly standard with the babyface in peril. Woods notices Big E on one of the fan screens and tells Kofi about it to pump him up for a comeback. It seems to work as Kingston hits a new move off the top rope that Woods won't shut up about. Eventually, he nails the Trouble in Paradise and gets the win. Mark Henry is also in the crowd and helps celebrate. Mustafa Ali and Retribution are in a dark alley for a promo. Ali says the Fiend and the Hurt Business made a big mistake because his power isn't in their numbers, it's in creating chaos. All he needs is a laptop or a phone and a secret. With one click, he can make anyone's world crumble. This corrupt company couldn't figure out what to do with someone of his talents, so he sat at home for a year. But he didn't just watch the show, he watched everything the other superstars did to get ahead, plotting and backstabbing each other, and he learned all their little secrets. Then Ali confesses to being the SmackDown hacker, and claims it was to help the world see how WWE infects its wrestlers with greed and corruption. They allow good, talented individuals to be forgotten and abandoned. Well, he found them and united them, promising the truth would be heard, and they'll shut down anyone on Raw who tries to stop them. This was a really good promo by Ali. He was believable, he finally explained their motivations, and he even tied up that loose end of the SmackDown hacker storyline. However, everything that happened earlier in the night, losing to the Hurt Business and getting beaten up single-handedly by the Fiend, undermines anything positive that I can say about this. The Hurt Business is approached by Titus O'Neil, who says that he'd make a great addition to the group. He dresses the part, he looks the part, and he's got the connections to take their business worldwide. They decline and beat him up instead. Oh, I really think that could have worked. Miz and Morrison are ready in the ring, but skeptical that Tucker would be able to find a tag team partner. However, he claims to have scoured the globe and found El Gran Gordo, aka Otis in a pink luchador mask. Miz isn't fooled and says Otis looks like he ate Lucha House Party. He rants about how prestigious the Money in the Bank contract is and how it made him into a championship caliber superstar. Otis, on the other hand, has brought nothing but shame to it. He's already separated Otis from Tucker and Mandy, and after his court case, he's going to free the Money in the Bank contract as well. It's a quick match, with Otis looking hysterical trying to wrestle in a cape. Tom Phillips sneaks in a Billy Madison reference, calling Otis the revolting blob. At one point, R-Truth comes running through with his 24/7 title, followed by Drew Gulak and Akira Tozawa dragging along a referee. Lucha House Party is also there and stop to stare at Gran Gordo with puzzled looks on their faces. It ends when Gordo hits La Oruga, or Caterpillar in Spanish, and a Vader Bomb. The winners celebrate with New Day after the match, and just in case you weren't sure, Mandy Rose walks in and presents Gran Gordo with a ham. It's time for the season premiere of the Firefly Funhouse. Bray unpacks his moving box and finds his big hammer from Seth, a black sheep mask from Braun, and the crucifix from his old version of himself. Wyatt is excited to meet some new friends on Raw, and after showing images of the Hurt Business and Retribution, he says they're already off to a good start. Ramblin' Rabbit says Raw is all about new beginnings, and reveals that he's married with kids. We see a montage of all the bad things that Bray has done to him, before he says, "The past is in our heads, but the future is in our hands." That's great, because Ramblin' Rabbit just wants a fresh start and Mercy eats him. A female voice is at the door. Bray says he saved the best surprise for last and welcomes our newest friend, Alexa Bliss. She says, "And our fun is just getting started. Bye!" After their unsanctioned match last week, Braun Strowman takes on Keith Lee in a legit match this week. Strowman comes out selling his ribs from his beatdown on Friday. Lee takes advantage, targeting the midsection with strikes and slams. Braun only gets the upper hand when he headbutts Keith in the balls and gives him a big boot to the face for a very quick win. A pissed-off Limitless One comes up from behind and kicks Braun in the balls as revenge. He grabs the monster by the beard and screams, "You claim to be some monster, but you had to take a shortcut against me. Monster, meet dragon." WWE has a ton of heat online right now because of how they've handled Keith Lee on the main roster. I can't say I disagree, and having him lose this match, even under screwy circumstances, doesn't help the case. I don't care what he did afterwards, he still lost. Randy Orton brings a chair to the ring as the cell lowers for his message from hell. He's always been told that anyone who competes inside Hell in a Cell leaves a small piece of themselves behind. Yet, he's had 7 matches and never left anything behind. Instead, each time he's learned something new about what he's truly capable of. He remembers facing Mark Henry, Sheamus, Jeff Hardy, Daniel Bryan, and John Cena twice for the WWE Championship. But his most important match was when he faced The Undertaker and earned the dead man's respect. All those men will likely go down as legends. The jury's still out on Drew McIntyre. That brings out the champ, who comes to the ring but realizes that Randy has locked the cell door. Orton taunts Drew from inside, saying, "Come get me." McIntyre pauses for a second and saunters over to the barricades where he pulls out some bolt cutters. He breaks the chain as a terrified Randy grabs his chair to defend himself. Drew says, "Your ass belongs to me," as they fade to black. Okay, that was another really bad episode of Raw, but opinions as to why it was bad seem to vary. Although most people didn't like the closing shot because there was no payoff, I did like it because this was a go-home show. In fact, I would say that that's the only angle all night that made me want to tune in on Sunday. Kofi vs. Sheamus was a fun match that played off their history, but none of the other wrestling was anything to write home about. Personally, I liked the Elias concert even if it was generic music. I do still think the Hurt Business should have added Titus O'Neil, but that's nitpicking. The women's division continues to spin its wheels, while the women's tag team division is a complete joke. And why did they split up the Iconics just to shoehorn Peyton Royce in with Lacey Evans of all people? I almost always liked the Firefly Funhouse, and tonight was no exception. I love Alexa Bliss, and cannot express how excited I am to see where her partnership with The Fiend goes from here. Finally, Retribution is a mess. Clearly there was an idea for an invading faction, but then they just hoped it would work itself out, and in a strange way it kinda did. I like that they incorporated Ali as the SmackDown hacker rather than just dropping it. I also like how they let him vent about not being used for a year and gathering similarly underutilized talent. However, between their horrendous introduction, inconsistent lineup, and tonight's burial, it's hard to take these guys seriously moving forward. Alright, that'll do it for Monday Night Raw. Thanks so much for watching. Let me know what you thought in the comments down below. I'll be back on Thursday with my action figure review of AEW Dynamite, so stop back then. As always, if you found me and enjoy my content, make sure to do all that normal YouTube stuff. Smash the like button, share with any wrestling or action figure fans you may know, subscribe to the channel, and spread the word. You can also talk to me over on Twitter, at PSUOptimus, or see all my best figure photography over on Instagram, at WrestlingOptimus. If you haven't seen my review of SmackDown, you can check that out right here. But until next time, I've been Wrestling Optimus, and I'll catch you later.